Hi, my name is Drew, and welcome to Wastelandia, a place where the world has come to an end, and you and your ragtag group of friends just want to mind your own business. Problem is, there's all kinds of strange things running around the post-apocalyptic suburbs, trying to mess with you, trying to bully you, and it's your job to put them in their place in this quirky, puzzly, cooperative boss battler. This game is free to play on Board Game Arena, and this is a tutorial to help you learn how to play the game. Before we get into the tutorial, I want to mention a couple things. This is a game that's going to be on Kickstarter, spring of 2024. But I wanted to have it developed for Board Game Arena so that you could try before you buy. Because let's be honest, there's so many new games every year, and it's really hard to tell just by looking through a Kickstarter page or watching a preview video what a game actually feels like. So I wanted you to be able to play the game and decide for yourself if it's something that you enjoy and would like to back. One last thing, this version on Board Game Arena is a demo version. There's a lot of content for it, but the full release will have a lot more stuff. All right, so I'm going to do a full playthrough of the first battle to give you a slightly deeper look into the rules and how the game plays. But if you're someone who likes to just get going and play the game and learn as you go, here's a kind of high-level overview of what you're looking at. It is a 1 to 4 player cooperative game. It is a boss battler. The goal of each battle is to defeat the bosses by reducing their health to 0. You can lose a battle if any single player has their health reduced to 0, or if you fail to complete a battle in 6 turns or less. For each battle, you will be rolling dice and then assigning them to abilities on your player board. Before you start assigning those dice, though, you have the option to re-roll those dice. However, the power to re-roll the dice is a resource that your entire team will have to manage and share throughout the 4-battle campaign. When you are using your abilities, you'll be doing things like manipulating dice, healing, dealing damage, and many other things. After each successful battle, you will be gaining a new ability. And in order to complete the whole game, you will need to complete 4 battles. And last thing I want to mention is that this game is very much a roguelike in that all your statuses will carry over from battle to battle. It's also very difficult. It's a very challenging game, but it's very easy to, when you lose, to restart and use what you've learned from your defeat and try to beat the game next time. So here's the Board Game Arena website. And if you have not used Board Game Arena, you can make an account for free and play lots of games for free, including this one. So you can search here for Wastelandia, or you can go to games and scroll down, go to beta games. There we go. All right, and so if you want to, you can click over here and go to a PDF of the rules if you prefer to learn that way. Also, you can, if you want to start a game, you can click over here to show some tables that other people have started, and you can click to join in on some of these games. But what we're going to do is show you how to play a solo game. And so Board Game Arena doesn't really have like a solo mode of playing games, but you can there's a little workaround with this game where you can actually play solo. And what's nice is it plays the same exact way that the solo version plays in the real physical version. So it actually works out really great. And so what you'll do is you'll go to over here. You go to, well, first you can play real time, turn-based. We'll do turn-based game. So 2 players. You've got the 1 player here, and then for the 2nd player, you'll click and you'll scroll down to hot seat and click there. Put in my name. And so now basically this is just a game where I'm playing as both characters. And so you'll flip back but from one character to the other. All right, so let's go to the game. Okay, and so like I mentioned before, this is a boss battler, and so you have two characters right here. So we have Wicked Willow, and then the other character is Deadly Dorothy. And for this first battle, we're going to be fighting these two clank bots over here. So this one and this one here. And so real quick, if you want to change the layout, you can go over to settings and to display baddies. If you like to have it so, actually we'll do so the baddies are presented underneath the player board, you can do that. But I think the standard kind of default way is probably the preferred, where you can see both characters, you can see the baddies here. And so, yeah, so how do you win this game? You win this game by completing 4 battles. This is the first one. You can lose by, so for each battle, you can win each battle by reducing all the baddies' health down to 0. And there's 2 ways you can lose each battle. And that is if any single player health goes down to 0, or if you fail to complete the battle in 6 turns or less. Each battle is a maximum of 6 turns. So for this one, you've got 2 characters. That means each character can have them at most 3 turns. And the basic kind of structure of the battle is, as you might guess, is the characters will, so the active player right now is Willow. So Willow will do her turn, then the baddies will act, and then the next character will go, and then the baddies. So players, baddies, players, baddies. And so let's talk about what a turn actually looks like. So the first thing you want to check is the baddies over here. They will show you at the start of your turn what they intend to do at the end. All right, so they give you a little bit of information here. So this yellow outlined for this B ability. All right, right here it says they will deal 2 fear to the active player, which is Willow. And so we'll talk about fear, what that is, but it's nice. You always want to look at what the baddies will do, because a lot of times that can affect your decision making of what you do, because you know what you do might affect what the baddies do on their turn. Okay, and so let's begin to look at what I'm going to do with my dice here. So I've got these 5 dice, all right, and I can use these to assign to all these different abilities that I have on this player board. And so let's take a look at what what dice I need to use each ability. So if I look over here, I have these smoke bombs. And so the top left of each card, it shows you which dice are required to use this. And so you'll see any equals any. And so that equal sign means that any dice can be placed there, but those 2 dice must be matching. So it could be 2 1s, 2 3s, 2 4s. And then that third dice can be any number that you want. So this one down here, any dice can be placed on that. This one specifically requires a 4. This one requires a 3, and this one can be any as well. And then so those are kind of the unique abilities for Willow, but then every character, all characters have the same set of basic abilities. And so this one is a healing ability. This one requires an even dice. And so basically how that works is if you put a 6 there, you would gain 6 health. If you put a 4 there, you gain 4 health, 2 health. This one requires an odd dice, and this allows you to remove fear. So if you put a 1 there, you remove 1, 3, you remove 3, 5, remove 5. And this one can be any dice, and this allows you to gain power cubes, which are spent to reroll your dice, which we will talk about in just a moment. Okay, and so I'm trying to decide. So I guess well, first let's talk about the most important abilities. They're all important, but the ones you probably want to know first, and that are the damage dealing abilities. And so the first one we'll look at Willow's bow and arrows here. And so if you look at this card, you'll notice that there's a little heart icon with a kind of a crack in the middle, and so that's the damage icon. So this card says it will do 2 damage, and then next to that you have the target with the player, or the little silhouette in the middle, and so that tells you how many baddies that damage will apply to. And so that'll apply to one baddie. And so sometimes you'll see a card that'll have kind of some additional text. And so this one is important, so let's read it. It says, if the sum of all your dice showing is 12 or less, then deal 8 damage to one baddie instead. So that's a big difference. If you're able to, if all your dice equals 12 or less, you get to deal 8 instead of 2. And so let's take a look here. So if we add it up, we got 4, 9, 10, 13, and 17. So right now, if we were to use that bow and arrow, we wouldn't get that bonus damage. So, but this gives you a little kind of the first peek into where kind of the puzzly strategic nature of this game comes from. Is you are trying to find different ways to change, manipulate your dice to kind of pull off these combos. And so before we start placing our dice, let's just look at another one here. We have our stick, and this one actually every character has a stick that they can use, and so you place any dice there, and then next to that little heart icon with the crack in the middle, you've got 2 little dice with the little flash, and so you'll see that sometimes, and what that means is once you place the dice there, that dice will then be rolled, and then the outcome or the effect of that card or that ability will be dependent on that roll. So I could put any dice there, and then I'd roll it, and if it was a 3 or higher, then I get to deal 1 damage to one baddie. If it's a 2 or lower, then nothing happens. It's a stick after all, so it's doesn't deal a lot of damage, and it's not very reliable. And so the next one we'll look at is these CD shurikens. And so the way, so this is a card that deals fear. And so this is the kind of an interesting mechanic that this game has. And so the way that fear works is the more fear that a baddie or player has, the more damage they will take when they are hit with a damage ability. And so, for example, if this Clankbot over here had 1 fear on it, so right now it has 12 health and 0 fear, but say it had 1 fear, and say I was to deal 2 damage with this bow and arrow, all right, so I would deal 2 damage plus the 1 fear, so I would deal 3 damage. If that Clankbot happened to have 10 fear on it, and I would deal the 2 damage plus the 10 fear, I would deal 12 damage. So fear is something that isn't the baddies don't ever remove. So dealing, it can be kind of important strategy to find ways to deal lots of fear on the early turns of each battle. That way, every time you're dealing damage, you get to deal that bonus damage. Adding that fear that baddie has on it. And so this one, we'll just take a look at this one, specifically the shurikens. And so we see that icon again, the 2 dice with the, so right next to that kind of fear face, there's the 2 dice with the kind of the little flashy dice. And so that means that you're going to roll that 4 dice that you've placed there. And so if it's a 3 or higher, you will deal 1 fear. If it's a 5 or higher, then you get to deal 1 fear and use the card again. So it's kind of an exploding dice mechanic. If it was 2 or less, then nothing happens. And so yeah, now that we've kind of looked, actually we'll look at the rest of the abilities. So you have these orange background cards are your dice manipulation cards. And so basically what this one does is it allows you to take any dice and flip it to its opposite side. And so with dice, opposite sides always equal 7. So if I were to put a 4 here, it would turn into a 3. If I was to put a 1 here, it would turn into a 6. And then lastly, these purple background cards are your healing cards. And so Willow has a really useful healing card. Allows you to deal or to apply 7 healing to all characters. So both Willow and Deadly Dorothy. Additionally, all players and all baddies will gain 1 fear. So it can be useful to add fear to the baddies, but that's if it's adding fear to the characters as well, that can be harmful and potentially. Okay, so let's take a look at what we want to do here. So I want to have, so this one would be great to try to do 8 damage instead of 2, but I need to reduce my kind of sum of my dice down to 12 or less. And so there's a few things I can do this. I have this dice manipulation card that I talked about, so that can be useful to flip something to lower the number. But something that I also have to use is these power cubes over here. So if you look over here, we start the game as a team. We start the game with 8 power cubes, and anytime you roll dice, you can re-roll those dice by spinning a power cube, and you can re-roll any number of dice. So I could re-roll all 5 of these if I wanted to. If I wanted to change all 5 of those and just spend 1 power cube to re-roll all those. I don't want to do that. I want to keep the 3 for the bow, and I want to keep the 4 for the shurikens. So I want to keep the 1 as well because that's a low number. It's going to help me try to get 12 or less. So I'm going to re-roll these and hoping for some low numbers. Let's see what I get. All right, got a 3 and a 3. All right, so kind of not too low. I'd love to 1s or 2s. Even if I get a 6, that can be kind of nice because I can use the fanny pack to flip that. So I'm going to re-roll this, hoping for 1s, 2s, and 6s. That's what I've got my fingers crossed for. Okay, I got a 6. Oh, I got 2 6s. Well, I can only flip 1 of those, so maybe I'll spend 1 more. And so, okay, nice. I got a 1. So I should be able to get that bonus damage, that big hit. But the one thing I have to think about is I used 3 power cubes there. And that's something that these 2 characters are going to have to share throughout the game. You can get more. There's ways to get more. One of them is just by placing a dice here. If you place a 6 here, actually, then you can get 2 power cubes instead of 1. But that's something you kind of have to factor in, the risk reward of how many of those power cubes do I want to spend. All right, and so now that I've got these 5 dice that I want to use, I'm going to confirm those. Now that I've confirmed those, I can't re-roll those. All right, and now it's time to use them on my abilities. And so each of these abilities can only be used once. All right, and each dice can only be used once. Okay, so like I mentioned before, let's see, what do I want to do? All right, so first off, I know I want to flip this to try to get low enough, under 12. All right, so I want to get under 12 so I can get the 8 damage instead of 2 here. So I've got 1, 2, 5, 9, 10. Perfect. Okay, and so because I have at least 2 matching dice, well, I actually have 3 here. I'm going to spin these on my smoke bomb. All right, and this will allow both of our characters to gain some health, and it'll deal some fear to the baddies, which is going to help for when I do my bow attack. And so as you'll see, each character starts with 15 health and 0. All right, the maximum you can have, a maximum health is 30. So even though the game just started, I can still heal and actually benefit from that healing. All right, so I'm going to activate the smoke bombs. Okay, so we both gained health. We're up to 22, and everyone gained some fear and all the confusion of that smoke. All right, and so now before I do my bow, I want to deal as much fear as I can. So I'm going to take this 4 dice, all right, and give that a roll. Okay, so awesome. I got a 6, which means that not only do I deal fear, but I also get to use this again for free. All right, so I'll confirm that dice. I'll deal fear to that baddie, sure. Wow, I got another 6. Okay, let's see. I'm got lucky rolls today. All right, confirm that again. And let's see. Sure, I'll go the same one. And I got a 3. All right, so that allows me to deal another fear. And however, it's a 3 or 4, so I don't get to roll it again. Okay, and so now I'm ended up, let's see, with 1, 2, 3, 6, 9. So if I use this, oh, perfect. I can actually use this, get the bonus critical hit, and I have just enough damage that I can take this guy out on turn 1. All right, and so now it skips over to the other player. It's Deadly Dorothy's turn. And one thing to note, because the baddies' abilities are automated by Board Game Arena, you might not have noticed that what the baddies did, but at the end of my turn there, the baddies actually did, or so the one baddie that was alive, because I had already killed off the other one, he did 2 fear. He dealt 2 fear to me. So that's why, right, if you look over here, I have 3 fear. So two from the baddie and 1 from that smoke bomb ability that I used. And so yeah, so now Deadly Dorothy will do her turn, right? And then after, we will skip forward to, and I'll show you what happens at the end of each battle. Because after each battle, you got these, see how you notice these characters have these empty spaces. So after each battle, you will gain a new ability. And you'll be adding that, and that's called the loot phase. So we'll show you that in just a moment. All right, so last thing I want to show you here is the loot phase. After each successful battle, each player will have an opportunity to add an ability to their player board. And so the way this works is you'll have the first player to select will have 4 options, and when you choose, so say for example I was to choose this boombox right here. In addition to getting this card to add to my player board, I also get a reward that goes along with it. And then you also see that I get this turn order token, so I would be the first player for the next battle. So all 3 of these things are kind of grouped together, and that's one collective choice you have to make. And in terms of the regular reward and super reward, so one thing I didn't mention before, I'll just go back to this. You can see there's an optional challenge for each battle. And so for the first one, it's always the same. It's complete the battle in 3 turns or less. And so you can see right here, 3 out of 6 turns. So we did do that. So if I go to show loot, right, so I know that I will get these super rewards. So if I were to choose this one, I would just get +1 dice from my next turn. And so, yeah, I will go ahead and select one of these. Okay, I'll go ahead. Maybe I want these blades right here. All right, so I'll select that, and now it's the other player's opportunity to select what they want. And then once everyone's selected their loot, then you will go on to the next battle. All right, so that is the playthrough, and thanks everyone for checking out this game. I really wanted to have it on Board Game Arena so people could play it and see if it's something they would like to back when the Kickstarter comes along. And speaking of Kickstarter, please go to wastelandiagame.com and jot down your email to get notified when the Kickstarter happens spring of next year. And if you want to follow along on Instagram, there's the Wastelandia Game Instagram, and then there's also my publisher Instagram, Back to Basics Game Studio. And then lastly, there's also a Discord for Wastelandia if you want to be involved in the game a little bit more. And the game is really challenging. People have been posting their winning builds when they've been able to actually beat the game. So that's something you can do on the Discord. So yeah, thanks a lot and have fun.